award-winning sweet potato pie. I'm also going to do a pecan pie, but we got to start with the crust. Now I have some flour, some all-purpose flour, some salt, and some sugar in here. And I'm going to add some shortening. You know, most people are, again, this is something most people are scared of when they bake. They just buy the store-bought pie crust, and that's just sacrilegious to me. I don't believe in store-bought pie crust. I just don't. And incidentally, in the bowl there is 3 cups of flour, and this is a cup of shortening. And the key to making a good crust, and I'm going to mix this up a little bit first, the flour and the flour, salt, and sugar. I'm just going to mix that together a little bit. I'm going to put this into my mixer here. Now when you're baking, you have to be really careful, because baking is actually science. So you can't, you know, deviate too much from the recipe, because it's actually, you know, scientific what you're doing. So now we're just going to put our attachment on. Okay, you can go ahead and cut. Pause. And so we're gonna mix in our flour and our shortening. Kind of start it out first. Let that go. And while that's doing that, I'm going to get a stick of butter, and I'm going to chop that up and add this to it. Now, you really want your butter to be ice cold and hard when you add it to this. And then we're going to add some water to it, and you want that to be ice cold as well. So I have a stick of butter, and that flour and shortening is being incorporated nicely. You want it to kind of look like sand, almost coarse sand. And I'm just going to I think it takes both shortening and butter to make a really good flaky, tender crust. Crust is flaky and tender. And when making crust, you can't over mix it until you start adding water to it. Once you add your liquid, then that's when you want to be careful not to over mix it, or you end up with a tough crust. So let me try to this what I'm doing with this butter. You see, it's nice and hard, just out of the freezer, and I'm just chopping it up and kind of paying into the, looking to the the crust there, the flour and the shortening, you can start to see it's looking sort of kind of like sand, and that's what we want to look for. And I've done this 1,000 times by hand, just using a fork. But, you know, we have these appliances, so take advantage of it. I'm going to put the recipes in the description section of this video, so we can go from there. So now we want to add our butter to the party. Nice and chunky. And even when we roll it out, I want to be able to see some specks of butter. I'm going to go to the fridge and grab ice cold bottle of water. Now this is where you have to be careful not to over mix. You just want it to come together, and I can't really say exactly how much water I'm putting in here, but I'm going to start off with just a touch, and then we'll eyeball it. And this is cold water, and it's going to start to come together pretty quickly, and that is where we want to be. As you can see, it just pulled away from the bowl. That's where we want to be. Now you see I'm just scraped it out of the bowl, and it's coming in, and I want you to see look at this flakes of butter. That's going to be a real good crust. That's what you want there. Now this is enough to make 2 open faced pies. So I'm just going to form it into a disc and cut it in half. And I'll use 1/2 to make my sweet potato pie, and the other half to make my pecan pie. So I got this here, and I'm just going to get a knife, and I'm just going to cut it right in half here, and that's perfect. I guess it's not, you know, really symmetrical, but I'm going to flour my work station here. Some flour in now. Okay. I got my trusty rolling pin here. Again, I just want to really emphasize how you can see how that butter is just studded all through there. That's gonna make just a really wonderful crust. And I'm just gonna get some flour on there, flip it over. Give me the clear one for the flip it over. Let me tell you, this sweet potato pie here, patty pie, don't have anything on this one. This is just absolutely delicious. So roll it out. And start from the middle and work your way out. And just work your way out. And this is going to be the flakiest, most tender pie crust you've ever had in your life. No more buying pie crust from the store. You can do this at home. You really can. It's not that difficult. Now you want to just kind of eyeball it. And so we need to roll out a little bit more. So we'll roll out a little bit more. Make it big enough to go into the pie plate. And once if you master this dough, I'm telling you, you're gonna make all kind of pies, apple pie, you know, cherry pie, peach, just you know, a sweet potato pie and a pecan pie is an open-faced pie. Doesn't have a top crust on it, but it's not a problem to make a top crust just like a half net. I would just take the top half and, you know, use that as the top. All right, so I think that's going to be about it. Yeah, that's going to be about it. So what we're going to do now is fold over half, make it half. Okay, and that's perfectly fine. You can always, you know, glue it back together. And now we have our pie plate. And a little bit more. And you don't want to overwork your dough. Don't overwork your dough. That's the biggest mistake that people make with pie crust, is they overwork their dough and they end up with, you know, something that's really, really tough. So we got half of it. We got to fold it over half, so we're going to come at half and just open it back up. And it's not that difficult. And if it tears a little bit, that's okay. You can always kind of just, you know, stitch it back together, you know. So we're about halfway here. And we're going to fold it out. And it's okay, again, it's okay if it tears, because we're just going to fit it into this crust here, and into our plate here. Okay, you can cut. And then I'll come back when I got it.
2, 1.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you see the pie crust. Again, you see those specks of butter in there. That's going to make that a real good crust. Better than anything you can get out of a grocery store. We have nice and neat, and all we got to do now is make our filling for our award-winning sweet potato pie. Crust, and now we getting ready to make our filling. Now I've got sweet potatoes here. Now you can either bake or boil your sweet potatoes. I prefer to bake them, and these are baked off. And I'm just gonna peel it real quick and show you how to do this. Just peeling it off nicely. And then I mash it through a strainer because I want to make it get out all of that fibrous part. Because I want to make a real creamy sweet potato pie filling, almost like a custard almost. So I'm just peeling that off real good. And I'm going to show you how to do one of these. I've got my strainer here. And I just take something where I can just mash it through. And it's just gonna mash it right on through this sieve here. And all you're gonna do is get that part, and it's gonna leave all of the fiber. As you can see how the fibrous part is just leaving it right there in the strainer, and I'm getting just nothing but creamy potato. And that's what I want to make this filling. So I'll have a couple more of these to do, and we'll come back and show you how we put the filling together.
2, 1.
Okay, now we are ready to make our filling for the sweet potato pie. So we have probably about maybe 2 cups or so of sweet potato puree, and it's all nice and smooth. There's no lumps in that whatsoever. I showed you how I push them through a strainer there. I'm gonna add some sugar to this. This is about 1.5 cups of sugar. And we're gonna kind of give this a stir around. No excuse for serving patty pies. You can do this yourself. I got some melted butter in here. This is about a 1/4 cup of melted butter. I'm gonna put it in. Butter makes everything taste better, of course. I'm gonna just get that all. I'm gonna switch over to a whisk here in a second. And it's nice and incorporate it. Then I have some eggs, some beaten eggs. Eggs that we beaten. Just mix that in. That's 2 eggs. And this is when I'm going to get my whisk out. And get everything incorporated. Now we're going to add some flavor to this. We got some vanilla flavor. I'm going to add to this some good quality vanilla. I'm going to do a teaspoon in here. Maybe another one to grow on. And then this is kind of my little secret weapon for sweet potato pie. This is butternut flavor. It just gives it a real interesting flavor. I really like this. Discovered this about, as with most things, it was an accident. Ended up putting this in and just really liking the way it tasted. So we'll go with a teaspoon of that, the butternut flavor, and it's just an awesome little kick to the sweet potato pie. And then we're gonna have some cinnamon. And this is where people go wrong with their sweet potato pies. They put way too much cinnamon in, way too much nutmeg. This is about maybe 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. That's all you need. That's gonna be pretty. I don't really want to, nutmeg. I'm even gonna do less nutmeg. Maybe about a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Just that's gonna be pretty plenty. Nutmeg is a really strong flavor. And then we're gonna add about a teaspoon of flour just to give it some consistency. And then this is evaporated milk. I like to use evaporated milk because you have more concentrated milk flavor in here. And that's going to be about 2/3 of a cup of evaporated milk. And we're just going to mix all of that together until it's nice and smooth. Okay.
Two, one.
Remember that crust that we made earlier? So now we're just going to pour this awesome, silky, smooth potato pie filling into this crust here. And it's going to be perfect. Right in here. Hattie won't have nothing on this one. I'll get it all in there. We're preheating our oven at 350. And we're going to put it on the middle rack. And we're going to bake this off for about, we'll check it after about 45 minutes to see where it is. And we're going to just give this a little shimmy shake. That is one good looking thing there. I'm going to spread it out a little more. Get it nice and smooth and pretty. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your homemade sweet potato pie. Everything's homemade. The crust, the filling, and we're going to park this right into our oven for about, like I said, we'll check it about 40 minutes and see where we are in a 350 degree oven on our middle rack. There you have it.